Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Friday's FB4 Daily. This show is brought to you by Paddy Power, which is a bookies. It's an app, it's a website. If you gamble, please gamble responsibly and try to do so with Paddy Power. Odds on Liverpool, odds on football, specials, LFC Day Tripper specials on Liverpool, sports, everything's on there for Paddy Power. But as I always say, please gamble responsibly. Tonight is a little bit random. If you have any random shouts at all, if you have anything that just pops into your head, absolutely just go and throw them in there for tonight. We're going to talk about Harvey Elliott's 14-day ban. We're going to congratulate Jurgen Klopp on being manager of the month, whilst looking at who could be sacked next. And whatever else comes in, we'll absolutely have a go with it. Tonight with me is a friend of the show. He's always in the chat, but he's in here with me tonight talking to me, and it's Chris Brack. Chris, how are you, my man?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
I'm good. It's Friday night. We're going to take up 30 minutes of people's time, and then we're going to leave them alone until tomorrow. I think that's the fairest thing to do tonight. First things first, the big one, the big kind of news of today is Harvey Elliott. 14-day ban he's been given by the FA for a tweet he done, I don't know how long ago, when he was about 12, about Harry Kane and stuff like that. 14-day ban. I think it still makes him available though, Chris, for the League Cup game against Arsenal. What do you make of it overall?
I think he's available for League Cup. I can't put it. It's a bit daft and naive what he's done, but he was about 13. I'm pretty sure most 13-year-olds say daft things. Hopefully, he just learns from it and matures him up a little bit. But it'd be interesting how far back they're going to do some uphill. They're going to go back with other players and other people. Are they going to say, well, you tweeted this when you were 18, 17, so you're going to get a ban for that now?
Yeah, it will happen. It has happened before. Like, I have seen tweets going back a good few years. I'm trying to think of there was a player that's something.
Is that Damari Gray? I mean, his was homophobic tweets when he was about 18.
Yeah, but
he got banned for it.
Yeah, but there you go. Like, it's a bit mad, isn't it?
But it's still unsavoury. I mean, the Harvey of it wasn't particularly pleasant what he said, but it was just very immature. But like I said, he was 13, 14 at the time.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, when you think he's 16 now, is he even 17? Yeah, it's a bit mad, but it does mean that it does mean that he's available for Arsenal, and I think that's the game they've been targeting for him next. Anyway, North Red is in the chat. He said, "Hi all." Centurion is in there, and he's laying down the law to us. He says, "Can we not talk about Klopp's 4-year anniversary? Every fan site and podcast has prolonged it endlessly. We won't be talking about that again until next year." Centurion, I promise. North Red says, "Won't he be back in time for Spurs starting for that?" Yeah, listen, you could do something like that just to annoy people. Centurion is back on. He says, "Overreaction to Elliott. Since when are people not allowed to be stupid and young?" Yeah, it's a fair point. I don't know how far they're meant to go back with all this before they just stop and go, listen, they were young people. That's what happens. I think
you're lost in the public eye, unfortunately. You're in the public eye. You have to be whiter than white.
Yeah, and every move you've made since you were 12 is going to be scrutinised, which is a little bit crazy. But look, he's back for the Arsenal game. I think that's all that matters. He has been fined more than Barcelona were fined for tapping up Antoine Griezmann, which is impressive. He's got a £350 fine as opposed to Barcelona's £300 fine, which
they've appealed that, so they might not even pay it yet.
Yeah, well, it's going to cost them more to appeal it than actually pay it. So there you go, the mad world of football. Look, we move away from it. It's one of those things. I think you're right in what you say, Chris. You have to be whiter than white, and anything you've said in your lifetime, once you become a Premier League footballer, someone will go and find it, and someone will actually go and put it out there,
I think for football clubs, they've got to educate the players a little bit, even if they are youth team players now, say, if you are a professional sports person, whether you like it or you don't like it, what you say and do on social media has an influence. and you are, whether you should be as a role model or not, you are. So you've got to engage your brain before you pick your phone up.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure he's going to be educated on it now. And like Kev O'Sullivan says there, it's very rare now to see active players post anything close to an opinion. Yeah, it's usually now they might retweet the odd tweet about, it could be a GoFundMe page, or it could be something good somebody's trying to do, or it could be food banks, it could be something like that. But yeah, I think Kev is right. Anything close to an opinion is very, very much down on the list of priorities when it comes to social media. I think it'll end up where clubs will start banning it completely. I genuinely do. It just takes all the possibility of anything going wrong away from them. Let me see. Centurion says, can we discuss the pragmatic mindset of LFC fans versus the media's anti-Liverpool hype? I really think it's very healthy for fans to be cautious. Sorry, I'll start that again. I really think it's very healthy for fans to be cautious yet optimistic. Yeah, okay, let's have a chat about that. I think Liverpool fans are 8 points clear. Well, they should do. They should look at the table and find that out. But
are we?
Yeah, we are. I've just checked.
That's all right then. It's not moved.
No, I checked while I was checking to see if that Watford manager is still in place and hasn't been sacked again. But yeah, the way I look at it, we're 8 points clear. It's a fantastic start to the season. I think I speak for most Liverpool fans when I say here, we're 8 points clear. Fantastic start to the season. Couldn't have asked for more, especially with the City results. It's far from over, but we're starting to come around and get out of the mindset that we've had for 20 years that, something's going to go wrong. I think it's a much more supportive and positive energy going towards the team rather than, this edgy, when are we going to slip up sort of thing. But as against that, people do say, and Centurion puts it well, the media's anti-Liverpool hype, and the way they're pushing this, Chris, is, they can't lose it from here. They're hedging their bets big time, aren't they?
Yeah, they want a title race. They want a bit of drama, so they don't want it to be, which I don't think it will be, one team running away with it, because it's hard to sell it when you go, what happened to Liverpool? Will they cut the gap to 12 points, 15 points? It's not quite as exciting. So they obviously were banking on Liverpool and City being a lot tighter, and they haven't quite got that. I think I'm at the point now, it's more in the Klopp's reign, is I think there are most games I go into now where I'm sort of thinking, I don't know how we're going to play, but I expect us to find a way to get a win. And it seems pretty rare we don't. So I don't get, how sometimes fans get very angsty with team selections or like thinking, after 2-3 years now, we should be used to, the guy knows what he's doing, 9 times out of 10 he gets it right. Just enjoy the ride a little bit more now, to be honest. It's nice to be in a position where you can enjoy the ride and go, they're playing really well, and the scary thing is, I still think we could play a lot better.
Well, you say we could play a lot better. I agree with you. I think in some games, I've said this before, I think in some games we've been really, really at it. And other games we've played within ourselves. But over the course of these 8 games, I think we've probably been at about 75%. Ray Dickinson says there, we've had a tougher first 8 games than City as well. Yeah, you could absolutely argue that. We actually have had a tougher 8 games. But it's very important that without getting too far ahead of ourselves, we really, listen, I think it's massive, Chris. I think it's absolutely and utterly massive that we go into City at home with this lead or even more. I think it's massive.
Ideally, yeah. I mean, I must admit, at the start of the season, I think I was hoping if we're within 3 or 4 points of City for the first City game, I'd have been happy with that. Look at the run we had. So the run we're on now is just beyond what I thought we could do, just because you just expect to get the odd draw here or there, just because there were tough games and the run we have, but we just keep finding a way, and it's quite exciting. I mean, the thing you can talk about Liverpool is the media doing a very big talk about how bad City's injuries are. They have got injury problems.
I don't think that can be an argument, Chris, because when they don't have injuries, all we hear about is the massive depth in this squad.
Correct. I think what we've shown is our squad players have come in. Adrian Lovren at the weekend, he's a fourth choice centre back, and it's fairly seamless, to be honest. Whereas City have brought that Cancelo in, very expensive, good talented right back, hasn't really done it yet. No. I think that's what exposed him a little bit, is the fringe players that normally kick on for him haven't this year yet.
Yeah,
I do say yet because there's always that caveat that they might.
Like Ray Dickinson again says, put it this way, nobody would give us a chance of turning around an 8-point deficit. Well, there you go. I think that's the way, and that's the truth. If City were 8 points clear of us now, to be going, it's City's, forget about it, and Liverpool would have shown some frailties by now. And if we were in City's boat where we were missing, a player on and off, like De Bruyne has been missing on and off, Laporte is a massive loss to them. But at the end of the day, we go on about this squad depth that they have, and they've a much better squad. We've had to use our squad as much as they have this season, from what I can see. Now, people might pull me up on that, go, no. I think so. I think if you look at the major losses they've had in their squad, they've had Laporte and we've had Alisson. They've had De Bruyne out a little bit. We've had to, maybe change the centre half here and there. The kind of way. I don't think there's much in it for what we've had to deal with, and we're 8 points clear of them. Kev O'Sullivan says one more City loss and we win. It's 11 points, and it'll take an awful run by us to be caught. City already have to beat us twice and cannot drop another point for a long time. That's just to get close to us. Yeah, that's perfectly fine as well. Centurion says, I personally don't place that much importance on the City game now with an 8-point lead. We're in a comfortable position and we should treat it like any other game. I don't think we will. I think if we get to Anfield and we're 8+ points ahead, or even 5, let's call it 5, I think Anfield will be absolutely off the charts that day. It'll be 4:30 on a Saturday or Sunday, and it'll be absolutely off the charts. It'll be like a European night at Anfield. I really do believe that. I think they'll be whistled onto the pitch. All sorts of stuff will go on. Go on.
I don't think we could afford to lose to City at Anfield, personally.
Do you know something? If we lost one game, say we drew a game, and
would be fine. Yeah.
But say we drew a game, right, and City got that lead back to 6, and we drew with City at Anfield, and after playing them once, we still have a 6-point lead. I still think that's massive. I think the head-to-head is going to be crucial.
I think that's massive. It only proved to be the case when we were 7 points clear of them, and then we lost at the Etihad. That seemed to give them the kick on of, it's only 5, let's go. Whereas I think if they go into a game, the gap's 6-8 points, and they go out of it and the gap's still 6-8 points or more, I think that has to blow them. Whereas I think if they win and reduce the gap to a 5 or 4 point gap, I do think then that almost like gets it between the teeth to go, right, we can kick on now.
The key time could be between when the Champions League group stops and the knockout round starts in early February. I think if City were to come into that knockout round looking and going, oh jeez, we're still 8-9 points off them, I think they might throw it in. I think they might just go, there's throwing the towel, we're going to go all out for the Champions League. But I've said it, if we get hold of City in the Champions League, they're going out. Put everything you have on it.
They're getting dollars in the Champions League anyway.
Yeah, well, Andy from the Trippers is the most enthusiastic, positive Liverpool fan you'll ever find. But I get a feeling Stephen Mack in this chat is probably going for his title. I think he's going to try to take Andy's title by submission. He says we'll be champions by Christmas. We are mentality monsters. Don't let anybody forget that. Stephen Mack, he's all over it. Andy will retaliate tomorrow at some stage, I reckon. Especially when I text him after now to say your title's on the line.
I've told you end of April, haven't I?
You've said the end of April. I will take literally the last day of the season, 85th minute goal of any sort to win the league. I'll go that far if needs be.
My heart couldn't say that.
But listen, while Centurion asked, what do you think, Gav? Do we dive into the transfer window with a good chance of trophies? It's an interesting one, Centurion. We're not known for it, aren't we? Not. Klopp is not mad about signing players in January. I'm trying to think who he has done. Is it Van still? Dijk? Well, Van Dijk was obviously the obvious one.
Van Dijk, Kolka, and he got Grujic on a pre-contract.
Yeah, so we're basically down looking at... He's basically signed one significant signing in January since he started. But I think the point Centurion's trying to make is it's in response to somebody saying they're worried about burnout because of what we have coming up in December, the World Club Championship, World Cup, whatever they call it, and then you'll have a West Ham game anyway put back. The FA Cup will come in on top of you. You'll only be over your Champions League group. The League Cup could still be going on. There's a lot going on. Let's be honest about it. I think he might do, Centurion. I think he may do something in January, just to. I don't think he'd be looking to bring somebody in that would like walk into the first team, but I think he'd love to bring someone in that would just spice it up a little bit. Maybe in midfield, maybe someone that can play midfield forward, maybe off a wing, something along them lines, just to put a bit of pep in the step again, the kind of way after what's going to be a long winter and a long run up to the New Year's Day, I suppose. But yeah, he might do something. He might absolutely do something. Let me see. Stephen Mack asks, what happened, lads? Did you lose balls? No, I haven't. I have told people from way before this season starts that Liverpool will win the title this season. I will not veer away from that in any way, under any circumstances. No matter how many...
I've given him a date.
Yeah, he's giving you a date.
I've nailed me name to a date, so, I've
Well,
got no wiggle room, really.
Well, I've said it from the start, 30 wins, 5 draws, 3 defeats, 95 points, and I think you're champions. That's what I've said. That's what I've said.
I'm hoping this year we kind of repeat what Chelsea did in 05-06 and just keep. They just went on a bit of a juggernaut run.
Yeah,
and it was done pretty early. That's what I'm kind of hoping for.
Yeah, I heard something the other day on the Anfield Wrap. One of Neil Atkinson's favourite stats is Chelsea in 05-06 is played 22, won 20, drew 1, lost 1.
So like that.
22 games in brings you probably to the end of January, and you're looking at. What's that, 61 points out of 66? It's phenomenal stuff. Ray Dickinson.
Well, Neil made a good point of saying if they could do something like that, and it was like, a bit like City did a couple of years ago, you blitz the league by January. You don't have to worry about squad depth then, because then you can get away with throwing in a Harvey Elliott, throwing in a Brewster against a mid-table side, because you've got that bigger cushion that you can afford to blood them.
Yeah.
So then the squad depth is less of an issue there.
Absolutely. Ray Dickinson is he's coming up with plans, and I like Ray. Ray is just a lovely, lovely bloke, isn't he? Just I do text Ray every so often, just going, you're really a nice guy. But he says, bring the West Ham game forward if we get knocked out of the League Cup and bag another 3 points. Ray, man, what a show! What an absolute show! Let me see. Stephen Mack is literally... I'm going to see if Andy has the train starting, the Choo Choo Champions train, because he says, by Xmas Day, we are champions, whatever date that is. That's his number. We're champions by Christmas Day. Listen, that's going to be unreal. We don't have to blitz December. We need to blitz October. Yeah, absolutely, I agree with that. But look, while we're doing so well, and Jurgen Klopp, Joe Matip is picking up Player of the Month, Jurgen Klopp is picking up Manager of the Month. I wanted to have a little look at a couple of managers, the sack race as they call it, and I wanted to get your thoughts on it, and other people's thoughts as well, as to if and when certain managers will no longer be managers of the clubs they currently look after. The first one I'll start with is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. He's the one immediately in our way when we come back next Sunday. Chris, I'm surprised he's in charge of United for this game. I thought he would have went. I really did. I thought they would have let him go because they're playing that bad. It could be an annihilation at Old Trafford. Maybe bring someone in and get that, that bounce that people talk about. But it looks like he will be in charge. I don't see him lasting until Christmas. Do you?
I think he'll be there till past Christmas.
Do you?
Yeah. I've got there's such a feeling of, how can I put it? They almost he's been brought in to be the fall guy for the owners. So it's in look, we're making plenty of money. Get rid of all the rubbish we don't want, and that's it. I think there's something. I reckon something in his contract, and he's there until they get the man they want. Whoever that is, I have no idea. But the other thing that's weird is I have friends who are Man United fans, and although they're all saying the football's crap, they're not happy. They're not turning on the manager. They're all saying, "Oh yeah, but he's got the club at the heart, so we should keep him and just get rid of all these overpaid players." So from the United fans I know, they hate the board, they hate a lot of the players, but they're willing to give the manager a shout, despite the fact they can see how crap the results are. So
yeah, I did see something saying that apparently a source at United have said we just need to get to January, unless they have something in plan, something in place for a plan in January to go and spend a lot of money and try halt this slide they're on. It's very easy to say get rid of a lot of these players that are overpaid, but you've just handed Marcus Rashford a deal worth a lot of money. You've done the same with De Gea. Now, I'm not saying De Gea should go, but there's a lot of lads in there that aren't playing well and being handed contracts in the last 12 months.
I think when he got shafted a bit was they got rid of Sanchez and Lukaku, rightly or wrongly, whatever was going on behind the scenes. It sounds like they weren't fitting in.
Yeah.
But Lukaku's the 20-goal a season man. Wherever he goes, he gets you 20 to 30 goals a season, and you didn't try and replace him.
Yeah.
And it's just I just find it bizarre. And now it's United are going for Mandzukic.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And that's what I don't get my head around is they went for the big global stars. Then it's no, we're going to go for youth. And after 6 months, we're going to Mandzukic, who's 34.
Yeah.
I don't get that. There's no consistency in approach.
No, there's no consistency whatsoever, and the reason for that, and that's why the people hate the board, because they don't know what the direction they're going in. I think if we all knew that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wanted to invest in youth or younger players and maybe more British-based players, you could go along with that. You could get on board with that, and I think United fans are the type that would. But
we were a bit like that with the Rodgers, where we went down the youth route, and we went down the youth route to an extreme where it didn't work. And eventually they got themselves balanced a little bit, but we've been through this, and that's why I find it so bizarre. United, they can see in the 90s what we did wrong and what we did wrong early days of FSG. So they had the blueprint there of what not to do.
Yeah, but you see, it's hard when you have owners, and let's be honest, them owners are their biggest interest is taking money out of that club when they can. So basically they look at it and go, oh, well, look, we made 500 million last year and we're shy. The kind of way. So, it just, you know what I mean? So they won't be mad for change. Centurion says, Man United fans are being herded against the hierarchy rather than Ole by the media. That's a very fair point. And I think the amount of ex-United players that have come out and supported Ole Gunnar Solskjaer because they played with him, instead of actually looking at what's going on, is a bit mad. He's not the right manager for the job. Ed Woodward is not the right man to be looking after Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And the owners are probably haven't got the right attitude towards the club either. It's just the way it is.
Did you hear the Woodward rumour?
No.
He's apparently had to come out and deny that he's a Liverpool fan.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Yeah.
Which I thought was very funny. Very Everton, that.
Yeah, a little bit. It could be. But so between me and you, I don't think he makes Christmas. You think he goes a little bit beyond Christmas or sees the end of the season? I
think he gets. I think as soon as Champions League and they're out of all the cups are out of the question, he'll be gone. So probably Feb.
Okay, no worries. Somebody says there, I think it was Stephen said, Ole will not be sacked, Steve Bruce will not be sacked, Marco Silva is the one. He is the one. I had Dave Downey from the Blue Room on the other night. It was a brilliant chat with Dave. If anyone hasn't listened to it, go back and listen. It's all about Everton, that show, but he's so honest, he's so down the line. And, even I even suggested Rafa Benitez to him in a serious way to take over at Everton, and he could not see the issue with that. That's how open Dave is about Everton. It's a fantastic chat. Go back and listen to it if you haven't. But Dave did feel that Marco Silva has probably not done enough to keep his job. I think if they have and it's something that stuck in my head the other day, Chris. Dave said the next 6 games are massive because the game after the 7th game down the road is Liverpool or Anfield, followed by, I think it's 5 of the top 6 in the next 7 games after that, running right through Christmas. I think it's massive. Dave said even himself, you need to build up some points here because there's a possible famine coming from early December. If he doesn't come out of these, I think it will be another 4 league games before the next international break. He has to be looking at 7 to 10 points here, Chris. He really does.
He does really. I mean, he's in a similar situation though to Solskjaer at United. It seems very haphazard above him. Dave rightly said, the side they've got is made up from 4 managers. It's a little bit unbalanced. I mean, look, Silva, I don't think he's probably good enough for Everton, but I'm trying to rack my brain of who'd you get. And we talked about Rafa Benitez, but unfortunately for Everton, not many of the fans think like Dave Downey, which is he's the best manager around. We'll go for him. There'll be so many Evertonians who'll go, he's an ex-Red. I want nothing to do with him, and they'll turn it for anything. So I mean, Rafa's a bit mad. Like he'd probably still go for it, but if they don't go for Benitez, I don't know who they go for, to be honest.
Like Ray Dickinson says there, I loved you talking the Everton fan into really wanting Rafa. I don't think you need to talk Everton fans into this. Like, listen, like. Dave hit it on the head, the nail on the head the other night, and it's something that I've taught a lot, right? Stop being romantic about your club. Stop being sentimental about your club. It will get you fucking nowhere, right? It's as simple as that. It will get you nowhere. Name the last manager that came in a romantic, sentimental way and took a club and created a dynasty out of a club, you know, where they could turn around and go, you know, oh, look how good I am. You may have to go to Italy, you know, maybe, or a Capello, or Guardiola, yeah. But that's a different level.
But that's extreme.
Yeah, that's when a squad is handpicked for you, you know. But you should not have to be as an Everton fan talked into Rafa Benitez coming and managing your club. One, okay, he's a brilliant manager. Two, he still owns property in Liverpool, and I think his wife and daughter still live there. Three, okay,
his kids are more scouts than anyone.
Yeah, but three, all right, he works brilliantly under constraints, which they will have on this stadium. There's no doubt about it. And four, if you give him time, okay, and you let him control things, and even if you have a Marcel Brands there, if you work him properly, I can guarantee you Rafa Benitez has Everton pushing for Europa, if not Champions League places within 4 to 5 years. Guaranteed. Absolutely no doubt in my mind.
He won as a Champions League playing Jimmy Traore at left back.
Yeah.
If he could set up as like defensively to get to that far in a big tournament like that, with the likes of Traore, Biscan, Pellegrini, then he knows how to set them up. And that's Everton's biggest problem is they're rubbish in both boxes. I don't think he can fix the strikers because they haven't got any, but he can make them so hard to beat that they can then rely on them. Look, we get one, we don't get beat.
Yeah, he is.
I think they need that.
He's actually a good mix of in your face, aggression, and on top of that, tactically aware and stubborn and stuff like that, and solid. He's a really good mix for Everton when you look back at who they actually admire when they have managers. He's Moyes. He's like Moyes, but he's fucking levels ahead. But he could go and play a Moyes style for you if you wanted, and be much more successful at it than David Moyes ever was. Ray Dickinson says they'd be thrown straighteners at each other if Rafa turns up at Goodison Park. Ray, me and you go over on the flight and we go down the brick and we watch it all unfold. Let me see. Everton couldn't afford Rafa. He has he has a massive contract in China. But listen, Rafa Benitez probably has a deal written in there that if a Premier League club's come back in for me, I can leave for X amount. He's not an idiot. But Marco Silva, for you, Chris, does he make Christmas?
No.
I agree. I don't think he does either. Pochettino.
But I don't know who they bring in. I generally don't know who they bring in.
Well, if it's not Rafa Benitez, they might as well go and give it to Duncan Ferguson and we'll all have a great laugh about it. Pochettino, this one is the one that intrigues me most. I have got a theory on it. I've given that theory a couple of times. They're in a bad way. They've Watford at home when they come back from the international break, followed by Red Star Belgrade at home, I think, before they travel to Anfield. I think there's a massive disconnect going on here between players and manager and owner. And I'm starting to worry if it can be fixed.
I think he's burnt out, personally. I think he's burnt out with working under Levy because I'm convinced behind the scenes he's been telling them for a while, I need to refresh the squad. We need to refresh the squad. And look, he's refreshed it a little bit in the summer, but it's a bit like after the horse was bolted. Some of those players, they all look like they're ready to go. And his biggest problem is also his biggest asset, which is probably Harry Kane. He's a big icon. He scores loads of goals. But my opinion of him, I don't think he's been fit now for 2 years. I think his ankles are done from the amount of ankle injuries that to me, he's nowhere near as mobile as he used to be, which means I think Spurs are having to change their style to play around it, which is you would because he's a goal scorer. But I think that and the likes of Lucas Moura being told, I scored a hat-trick to get to the Champions League final, but you're on the bench because Harry Kane's 40% fit. I think all that sort of politics is. All this nonsense about Eriksen's wife and all that, I think all that made up. But all those sort of nonsense stories always come out when the club stinks of being in crisis and a lot of stuff behind the scenes isn't right. But I generally think that as a manager, he's burnt out. And also what Solskjaer going, I think if he went to United, as great as a manager is, I think he's that burnt out. I think he needs a sabbatical like Klopp and Pep have had in the past. I think he needs to go away for 6 months and recharge.
Yeah, Kevin Sullivan says Poch's problems are in the dressing room. They are tired of listening to him. Northred says go and get Son. In January, he would come. What a signing that would be.
Brilliant player.
Oh,
Brilliant.
what a signing that would be. Let me see. Maverick says yes.
That would get in the league if you got him.
Yeah, it would be. It would be. I think it's an outrageous signing if you went and done that. Maverick says Rafa has some nice exit clauses, but joining Everton is most definitely not one of them. Only exit is for a Champions League club only. Yeah, that's a good shout.
Which Champions League club would have him?
Do you know what?
I don't mean that in a nice possible way, because I think he's at that level now, Rafa, where he's done the likes of Liverpool and that. So I don't think he's going to get an elite club like a Liverpool, a City, United, Chelsea.
But somebody says there that Pochettino could be the man to start this, domino effect. Listen, Pochettino could walk away from Spurs and they could want Benitez. There's rumour that Mourinho has toned down Leon because he fancies the Spurs job if Pochettino does leave.
Mourinho won't welcome
it could go. Yeah, well, I don't know. You really don't know. He likes the limelight. It's a brand new stadium there. That they're.
He also likes £300 million every summer.
Well, that's the thing. It's very hard to. It's very hard to.
I can't see Daniel Levy giving him that.
It's very hard to balance it like that, isn't it? Let me see. Ray Dickinson said getting to that Champions League final was a way of turning heads of the Spurs players. Yeah, they could probably look and go, look where we were. I want to be there all the time. That's a fair point as well. I think the big one in it is Zidane. I think if Zidane goes from Madrid, I think all sorts happens because I think Mourinho will be back in for that straight away. I think Pochettino, although I agree with you that he might need a little break from it because everything he's learned is not working and he's run out of ideas. I think he'd be all over that Madrid job as well. I think he tried to go for it twice and it didn't work for him. But I think the Zidane one could be absolutely massive. But Pochettino for you, stays to the end of the season or goes before the end of the season?
I think he stays to the end of the season, but I don't see him there next year.
I think that's a fair point. What else? That's it. I just wanted to talk to you about a couple of managers. Nobody put any random questions in for us tonight.
We don't think Watford's going to go for manager number 3.
Oh, I definitely think they will. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to work out who's the manager before him.
Do you know what?
Is it Paddy? Is he coming back? Is he the next one?
What was his name? Yeah.
He was mad as well.
But the thing is, like, do Watford have like a really old phone that only holds 3 to 4 numbers in it? And when they lose a manager, to go look up the list there, and there's like only 4 of them. I think Zola is still on it. It's just crazy. But if you look,
the Alpha Rap got it right when they said, like, if you're going to bring the new manager in, why didn't you wait till after the City game?
Yeah, before you get battered.
Let the other get battered again. They go, right, now we'll get rid of him because he's got a bit of an easier rub.
But there's been no bounce on it. I think did they get a draw against Sheffield United at the weekend at home?
I think so. Yeah, he got a draw against Arsenal, didn't they?
Yeah, Walter Mazzarri is the man you're talking about there.
Well, Mazzarri, Paddy as a player, sorry.
Said Centurion. That makes me think that Centurion knows his stuff and maybe has to go up against Chris, the quiz champion, sometime next week when we're filling in time in this international break. We will be bringing that quiz back next week, Chris. So make yourself available one night next week and we'll make it happen.
Sounds like Centurion back to me with the sound of
it. Maverick says Jose and Levy. Jose and Levy, what a sight. Let's see how good Jose is with a 3rd-tier budget. It's just not happening. It's just.
You could sell pay-per-view for that board meeting, couldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just one of those where you could make arguments for it and you could probably make stronger arguments like Maverick has for it not happening. It's one of those. Are you doing anything the weekend, Chris?
Taking my doors to the women's football on Sunday.
Right, at Tranmere?
At Tranmere, yes. Early kick-off, midday kick-off.
Okay, and Liverpool v Bristol. Is that what you told me?
That's the one, yeah.
Okay, are they fancied for this weekend?
I hope so. It'd be nice to get the first win of the season, wouldn't it?
Yeah, they need to start winning.
Yeah, and then I got my tickets through for the Arsenal game. So the little girl's going to Anfield in a couple of weeks.
Lovely. So you're flying now. You're absolutely flying. Ray Dickinson says Steve Bruce. No, I think he stays at the end of the season. I think he suits Ashley down to the ground. I think he really does. You're not getting anything to spend, Steve. Okay, Mike, and that's the end of the conversation.
The fact he's now playing 4 Geordies as well, I think that gives him a bit of help and a bit of leeway.
Yeah,
which is something they've wanted for ages. There's some locals on the side.
Yeah, he's kind of changed his formation over the last couple of weeks as well, from 3 at the back to to 3 centre halves to a flat back four, and it might work for him. Let me see. Stephen Max says Steve Bruce will be the last manager to be sacked this season. I don't think he'd go anywhere. I think he's being told he'll have the season regardless, because Mike actually doesn't care, So we'll have to wait and see. If you're watching this on Periscope, share the broadcast. Well, we're ending now, but you don't have to share the broadcast now. But always remember to share it. If you're on YouTube and you're just casually watching, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell icon. If you're watching on Spotify, if you're watching on or if you're listening on Spotify or iTunes or any of your podcast apps, subscribe. You get all our podcasts every day. Rate and review us. The better rating we get and the better reviews we get, the more chance people will come and listen, and the more opinion we will get on a day-to-day basis. That's about it. 35 minutes. I think that's fair enough for a Friday night. Chris, it's been an absolute pleasure. Enjoy the women's game at the weekend.
I will do. Thanks for having me on again, mate.
No problem at all. I've been Gav. That's been the FB4 Daily. And look, if Rafa goes to Everton, they're going to be thrown straighteners. Over and out.